All right, shalom. Shalom. My name is Yadon Yasharah. My brother Yamti Yasharah. Shalom. Welcome back.
Thanks, man.
How was the trip, man?
It was nice. It was eye-opening. It was inspiring as always. It's just nice to be around our people.
Did you get to minister or talk to anybody?
That Shabbat I went to the usual meetup spot and spoke to the leader about when Passover is done, because he was 14th at the beginning. And I was showing him it's on the border of the evenings,
right?
So the people in there was able to think about like the holy days, because those conversations always gear people's minds toward like wanting to know the word more. Whereas if no one's bringing it up, then nobody cares.
Everybody's just cool with the tradition.
Yeah.
Of it. Well, praise y'all.
But if you make it a conversation, then people be like, you know what, I should probably study, So,
well, if nobody ever presented certain things to you, then those ideas to look into those type of things. A lot of times we're exposed to different point of views or drill downs in a certain subject matter, and it causes us to, I never thought about that. And that's why when we read a lot of the same stuff over and over, because it causes you to drill down and get some more details. Indeed. So today, the title of today's Bible study is going to be Blocking Blessings. Blocking Blessings. We are the children of the Most High, and Father wants to bless his children. And he even made covenant with us, which included blessings. But there's certain actions we can do and lack of faith or lack of works that can cause things that are supposed to be blessings to us to be a curse, or prevent us from receiving things that the Father wants so desperately to give us, because it will become a curse unto us because of the way that we carry ourselves. So we're going to examine that today. We're going to open up first in Genesis, Bereshit, chapter 12. Genesis chapter 12, and we're going to read verses 1 through 9.
Hallelujah.
I'm good.
Genesis, Bereshit, chapter 12. And we'll begin at verse 1. Now Yahweh had said unto Abram, Get you out of your country and from your kindred and from your father's house unto a land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing.
So immediately here we see Yahweh telling Abram to leave Mesopotamia, to leave the Fertile Crescent, and get away from his own kindred, his own people, his own family, to go to a place that he's going to show him. So he doesn't even know where he's going to go. And he's saying that I'm going to bless you, and you are going to be a blessing, and your nation is going to be a blessing. And this immediately shows from the patriarch in Abram, he's not even Abraham yet at this point, that sometimes for us to receive the blessings that the Most High wants from us, we have to go out on our own. We have to leave our familiar territory. We have to leave maybe some friends or family that may be on something different, maybe on the traditional thing that you grew up with, but the Most High wants to show you something different and show you something new. That doesn't necessarily mean that you hate your family or you're going to turn your back on your family. We saw Abram leave to go get his family when he saw his family was in trouble. So we know that's not the case, but we as servants have to be ready to be moved and changed and moved to whatever the Most High sees fit.
Verse 3, And I will bless them that bless you, and curse them that curse you. And in you shall all families of the earth be blessed.
All right. So in Abraham, which we know that blessing was passed from Abraham to Yitzchak to Yaakov, and it is blessed as those who bless Israel and curses those who curse Israel. Now, if we want to be blessed, then we got to continue blessing one another, which means we have to keep the commandments towards one another. And if we do not want to be cursed, we can't curse one another, because just because some other nation will curse us and they will become cursed, that doesn't mean we won't be cursed if we curse one another or we treat one another not in a proper manner.
Verse 4. So Abram departed as Yahweh had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan. And into the land of Canaan they came.
All right, now keep in mind, what was Yahweh's instructions? Verse 1. Get out. From who?
Your country, from your family.
And from your family, but who's he bringing with him?
He's bringing in his slave, his household, his personal household.
And his nephew. And he brought his nephew. He brought his family with him. And Most High said, no, get away from your kindred. Go to the place that I will show you. But now you get into Book of Yashar, it goes into why he was a little bit closer with Lot, because he had a little bit to do with the death of his father, with the burning of the idols, which is in the Book of Yashar. So you can see how he took him under his wing, because he felt a little bit of loyalty that he had to give to his brother's son. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a problem later, because the Most High didn't tell him to bring his family. He said, get you away from your kindred.
Verse 6. And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. And Yahweh appeared unto Abram and said, unto your seed will I give this land. And there built he an altar unto Yahweh, who appeared unto him. And he removed from there unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto Yahweh, and called upon the name of Yahweh.
All right, so this is Genesis chapter 12. And he's calling on the name of Yahweh, the Shem of Yahweh. So obviously they knew the name. If he's calling on the name of Yahweh, he didn't say, he's calling on Elohim. It specifically says the Shem of Yahweh. Go ahead.
And Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south. And there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Mitzrayim to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. All
right, we'll stop at verse 9. And again, just to touch on that whole him knowing the name thing, how would Abram known the name of Yahweh?
Yahweh told him.
Anybody?
Or it was passed down from his forefathers.
It was passed down from his forefathers. Enoch. All these people had the name. So the name was passed down. The character of the Most High was passed down. This is how he knew to build altars and knew to do things that would be pleasing unto the Most High. Knew to keep holy days. Knew to keep first fruits and things of that nature, because it was passed down. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30. So what we want to definitely understand in that concept is that, first of all, Yahweh says, I will take what? How many of a family? And one of a city. So he's saying basically, I don't need everybody in your family. But we want to bring our family for obvious reasons, because, we love our family. If we could choose who we bring, we'll bring the people closest to us. But when the Most High tells you to move, you can't force other people in your family to move at the pace that Yahweh wants you to move. You have to follow the instructions. Now, if he tells you to go back and get your people, like he sent Moshe to go back and get his people, that's a different story. But when the Most High gives you instructions, we have to be sticklers for details to make sure that we're following the instructions properly, because we'll create more issues or problems in our own lives because we're not following instructions. So Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 30. And verse 1.
And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, and you shall call them to mind among all the nations where Yahweh your Elohim has driven you, and shall return unto Yahweh your Elohim, and shall obey his voice, according to all that I command you this day, you and your children, with all your heart and with all your soul. That then Yahweh your Elohim will turn your captivity and have compassion on you, and will return and gather you from all the nations where Yahweh your Elohim has driven you, scattered you.
So this is Deuteronomy 30. We know in Deuteronomy 28, the first 14 verses are about blessings. Blessed will be when you go in, blessed when you go out. Blessed will be the fruit of your womb, blessed will be your basket, your store, everything. Blessed everything you touch. You be the head, you'll never be the tail. So the blessings are already there for us, given to us. By default, we already had it. But those blessings came with a stipulation that we had to conduct ourselves in a certain manner. We had to walk like a blessed people, not walk like a cursed people. So he gave us that choice. First, he gave it to us, and here's a choice of whether or not you want to keep these blessings. Go ahead.
Verse 4. If any of yours be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from there will Yahweh your Elohim gather you, and from there will he fetch you. And Yahweh your Elohim will bring you into the land which your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it. And he will do you good and multiply you above your fathers. And Yahweh your Elohim will circumcise your heart and the heart of your seed, to love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul, that you may live. And Yahweh your Elohim will put all these curses upon your enemies and on them that hate you, which persecuted you. And you shall return and obey the voice of Yahweh, and do all his commandments, which I command you this day.
What's that word for persecuted in verse 7?
H7291.
Because an enemy is an adversary, anybody that's adverse to the word. So this doesn't have to be Canaanites. This could be anybody in your life, including yourself, that's adverse to the word. It was H what?
7291 Radaf.
What is it? Read it.
Radaf. R-A-W-D-A-F or R-A-D-A-P-H. A primitive root to run after, usually with hostile intent, figuratively of time gone by, chase, put to flight, follow after on, hunt, be under, persecution, pursued.
All right. So when you, I guess, in a negative sense, you causing somebody to flee where you can't have peace, you constantly have to, you see this person, you have to go the other direction because you just can't have peace. Two can't walk together unless they're agreed, and you can't agree on peace. So you got to leave. You can't just live your life and conduct in the righteousness of the Most High without somebody forcing you to have to leave or flee a situation or to send to a hostile environment.
Verse 8. And you shall return and obey the voice of Yahweh to do all his commandments which I command you this day. And Yahweh your Elohim will make you plenteous in every work of your hand, in the fruit of your body and in the fruit of your cattle, and in the fruit of your land for good. For Yahweh will again rejoice over you for good, as he rejoiced over your fathers. If you shall hearken unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim to keep his commandments and his statutes which are written in this book of the law, and if you turn unto Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul, for this commandment which I command you this day is not hidden from you, neither is it afar off. It is not in heaven, that you should say, who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it to us, that we may hear it and do it? Neither is it beyond the sea, that you should say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it? But the word is very near unto you, in your mouth and in your heart, that you may do it. See, I have set before you this day life and good, and death and evil.
All right, so this word is very near unto us, in our mouth, in our heart, that we may do it. So the blessing is in our control. It's in our hand. It's very near. It's not far off. The other nations, they have to seek for it. They got to find it. Whereas the Most High gave it to us and taught us how to live life more blessed. Well, we got the blessing on default. Now, we got so used to these curses that we think the other nations are blessed because they're able to do this and do that and multiply and get the benefits of that. But ultimately, whereas we have the same ability to do that, to make money just like them, to put businesses together and do all that. But the difference is the curses are nearer to us if we don't do it in a righteous manner. So it's not that they're more blessed than us. We're more blessed, because really, what kind of blessing is that if you're allowed to continue to do something until you die, until you lose your salvation? That's not a blessing. Go ahead.
Verse 16. In that I command you this day to love Yahweh your Elohim, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, that you may live and multiply. And Yahweh your Elohim shall bless you in the land where you go to possess it. And
if you look at verse 15, he says, see, I've set before you this day life and good, death and evil. He put those two correlations together. If you do good, you receive life. If you do evil, you receive death. And that's before you. I put it before you because I gave you the free will to make a decision on what you want to do. And furthermore, I gave that to everybody, free will. But I gave you an even higher level than that. I showed you what good is. I showed you what righteousness is. And I showed you the rewards of that by covenant, by promise. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 17. But if your heart turn away so that you will not hear, but shall be drawn away and worship other gods and serve them, I denounce unto you this day that you shall surely perish, and that you shall not prolong your days upon the land where you go over Jordan to possess it. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both you and your seed may live.
So if you walk in life, which is the light, which is this word, you walk in the light, you're going to receive that life, which means you're going to receive true blessings. We constantly, associate blessings with material things, but the true blessings will give you life. So these things are set before us, and to not block these blessings that are set before us, we have to walk in life. We have to walk in the light of this word. Go ahead, Elder.
I just wanted to state that, this is where people get confused. We always see confusion as before. If Yahweh is telling you to abide with him and to worship only him, and keep his commandments and judgments and so forth, he's telling you how to live our lives. And this is what he was telling to our ancestors, And but the people of today, our people of today, us, when we was coming up, we didn't learn none of this. We learned what we was told by the Gentiles.
Right.
Who took our book. So people are thinking right now, well, I'm doing what I was taught to do. I believe in there's a higher being. I believe in a God. Even if they don't know his name, they're thinking about, a pagan name. Well, you know what I'm talking about. The one that says ruin and calamity.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, we wasn't taught how to serve the Most High. And when he talk about in this verse right here, within thy heart, turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but thou shalt be drawn away and worship other mighty ones and serve them, then he's going to denounce us. But yet, if you didn't know him, then I believe that our people are under grace right now until they hear that word. And his word is truly being circulated right now. It's being published to the four corners of the world. Eyes are being opened. Even in other parts of the world, they know the name Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So I don't know how Yahweh going to deal with the rest of the world when I've been around several parts of this world, and they know the word Yahweh. You understand? But out here, the only people that knew was very, very, very small pockets of people. Because I remember mother telling me that, she's in her late 80s, that there were people that walked around like 2 or 3 men, walked around back there with long beards and so forth, and talked about Yahweh, but nobody really took them very seriously.
Right.
So I believe right now, a lot of our people in grace until they hear the word. But I believe that, once you start hearing the word, it should prick, your heart, that you should try and figure out what people are talking about. Is this true or not? Because we have access to every library around the world with this invention that they made called a computer and iPhones and so forth. So we can delve into a little bit of a study to know what people are talking about. Is that true or not? So I believe if you turn your heart from Yahweh after you've been and after he had put the flower before you, and you knew you learned who he was, yeah, you in serious danger. You know, he's going to turn from you. You turn from him. You know, because you don't know how long. We don't know how long Yahweh is going to tarry with us. But I believe that the people, you know, who don't know Yahweh, who have a chance, because his word is being published by many every day, even if some people got it wrong. The idea is that Yahweh is out there. His name is being published. So he is real. We need to look into this if we're saying we believe in him. Because, brother, how many of us is coming out of these churches, you know, that had this big cross in it, in a white, you know, a Blanco, you know, Messiah. Right. You know? And then the Catholics is telling everybody you need to go through them, get this little, you know, ashes on your head and stuff like that, ashes to ashes, they're talking about, and dust to dust, you know. How many of these pagan rituals that we have gone through when we was young, you understand? And a lot of people in different parts of the world are still going through. Some of them have not gotten this truth yet. So I look at this grace upon them right now that has not perished. But Yahweh always knows what he's doing. He's going to let them hear his word, one way or another. Then they got a decision to make. You know, so I want to bring that point up because many of us, you know, walk over that and be too hard on our brothers and sisters, not realize that maybe they've never heard this word yet. Maybe when you speak and I heard on it, it's too deep for them right now. Maybe you can take it upon yourself to say, look, is it possible, can I show you what a little bit that I know? And maybe by incite them and put a light in their heart that they may search for themselves and learn and make a decision. If Yahweh calls on them, they say, I want to follow. You know? So we have to look at our own hearts, bro. We're being too hard on our brothers and sisters. You know, too rough on them. Because they have been allowed to live right now in grace before Yahweh to be able to maybe give his word. Because if we didn't have to preach this word right now, teach this word, I guess we would be in the kingdom right now. You know, that's something we need to think about.
You know, ultimately, the Most High, you know, grants eyesight, whether you have eyes to see or ears to hear. But what we can do is you have it on speakerphone?
Yeah, I do.
What we can do, you know, before we get into a position where the Most High grants us our eyesight, you got to be at a place where you're trying to walk in righteousness. Yeah. You know, that you got to be seeking that. Yeah. You know, you got to be broken down to some point where you're at least trying to walk in righteousness. But if you're in your haughtiness and you ain't really trying to, you know, care about nobody else, you know, why would he reveal this word to you and this understanding? And then you can't be coming up before the Father and say, well, nobody told me. Well, you wasn't showing, you know, like we read in Shabbat, you know, you approach the Most High righteous, he'll approach you righteous. You approach him froward, he's going to approach you froward. So what we can do is when we talk to people, we can definitely warn people when they're walking in actions that are going to lead them unto death. And those that are on a conscious environment where, you know, they're trying to be brotherly and stuff like that, you can slowly introduce these things and say, hey, look, this is how you can take that righteousness to another level, put it to a test.
Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 30, verse 19. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life that both you and your seed may live. That you may love Yahweh your Elohim, and that you may obey his voice, and that you may cleave unto him. For he is your life, and the length of your days, that you may dwell in the land which Yahweh sware unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Jacob, to give them.
And he talks about obeying his voice. And Yahshua says the same thing, you know, my sheep hear my voice. And then now we go back into the Sefer writings with Enoch. It talks about the evil angels that are to lead the other nations astray. So whereas his people hear his voice, they'll listen to him. They're not going to serve those other mighty ones because they know, first of all, the voice of the Most High, which is righteousness. And they know that why would I want to follow, you know, these other nations when I know they're being led astray to sanctify Yahshua. So in all actuality, you choosing to be part of another nation when you decide you're going to follow the other nations. Let's go to Tehillim, Psalms chapter 78. And in this process of following after the other nations and doing the things that the other nations do. We put ourselves in a position where the Most High wants to bless us, even with the fact that, okay, we're new, we grew up in captivity, we didn't know all these different things. The more and more rebellious we are, beyond the level of understanding that we have. Because even if you don't fully understand this book, you understand a basic level of right and wrong. And you choosing not to even follow that for your own lust of your flesh, we limit the Most High with that, with those actions. And we cause him not to open our eyes further, because the little bit that we got, we showing that we're not even going to cater to that. So why he going to open up your understanding to do all these things? So the Most High, because he gave us free will, he allows us to limit him. We can limit his blessings by the things that we do. And we can also limit his wrath by repenting and turning around and walking in righteousness and trying to help others, not fall in the same hole. So we have some power and control with the Most High. But at the end of the day, all things are going to work for the glory of the Most High.
Psalm Tehillim chapter 78 and verse 1. Give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us.
So I will open up my mouth in a parable. And some people have a problem when you speak in parables. People have a hard time understanding you sometimes. And what the parable does is it causes you to think, and it puts you into a real life situation, something that you may understand. Like he used a lot of parables with farming and livestock and weather, things that a husbandman would understand. But what it does is, rather than just telling somebody plain, flat out a certain way, it allows them to kind of reject it if they don't want to believe it. But when you speak in a parable, they have to start at least thinking about what you're trying to say. And in that thought process, they may gain some understanding in that. And Yahshua himself spoke in parables. And he said, what was the reason? You remember the reason he said why he speak to the people in parables?
My sheep and my voice.
That. And what else?
And so that to whom it is given, they'll know.
Exactly. It wasn't given to everybody to understand. So if something is given to you and you're really seeking righteousness in the kingdom and you don't understand it, what you going to do?
Try to seek it out.
You're going to seek it out. You're going to go. And what says, any man lack understanding or lack wisdom, ask the Most High. He gives it to all men liberally. So this will cause you to seek him. Okay, I don't understand. I don't understand. I know you've run across that countless times. We'll come across scriptures and I just don't understand this. I mean, I understand what they're saying, but I don't understand the significance. And it causes you to think a little bit more. Ask the Most High. And then somebody I know you've done it, randomly brought up the scripture. And I'm like, oh, that's what that meant. So there's a reason why he does that and talks in these parables. And his people, once we start getting in this word, we tend to start doing that, talking in parables. And sometimes we forget that the person that don't read the word,
don't know. They
not understanding nothing you say. And then now it's not really helping them if they're not going to understand. And what Yahshua would do would break down the parable and give the understanding of a matter to somebody that would stick around to hear it.
Mm-hmm. Verse 4. We will not hide them from our children, showing to the generation to come the praises of Yahweh and his strength and his wonderful works that he has done. Psalm 78 verse 5. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Yasharal, which he commanded our fathers that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children, that they might set their hope in Elohim and not forget the works of all, but keep his commandments.
All right, so we establish this testimony, and we don't hide this. We teach this to our children so that the generation to come may know. And even the children which should be born after them, we should declare that to the children. So we see how we were cursed and how we cursed our own children and our own families when we stopped teaching these commandments. We stopped passing them down. We started trying to blend in with the heathen around us so that we could not look separate, to be like them. It was easier around melanin people. You know, we'd blend right in with Egyptians, just change the way we dress. Even the Greeks, we were able to blend in with the Greeks by just putting on a bikini so that they wouldn't know that we were circumcised. So this is how the curse was passed on from generation to generation. And we see the same curse being passed on now, where we have parents trying to say, you know what? Yeah, we ain't really worshiping the pagan God, but, you know, everybody else is doing it. I don't want my child to be different. I don't want him to feel left out. Well, I mean, there's be a lot of people. Ain't too many people going to be left out of the lake of fire. The lake of fire is going to be filled with people. So you can choose, well, what's more important, trying to have your child fit in right now, or show your child that, no, you're not like the world. And I'm trying to make sure you and your children after you have the best opportunity to seek after their salvation with fear and trembling.
Mm-hmm. Verse 8. And might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with all. The children of Ephraim, being armed and carrying bows, turned back in the day of battle. They kept not the covenant of Elohim and refused to walk in his law, and forgot his works and his wonders that he had showed them. Marvelous things did he in the sight of their fathers in the land of Mitzrayim in the field of Zoan. He divided the sea and caused them to pass through. And he made the waters to stand up as an heap. In the daytime also he led them with a cloud, and all the night with a light of fire. He clave the rocks in the wilderness and gave them drink as out of the great depths. He brought streams also out of the rock, and caused waters to run down like rivers. And they sinned yet more against him by provoking the Most High in the wilderness. And they tempted all in their heart by asking meat for their lust. Yea, they spoke against Elohim and said, can all furnish a table in the wilderness? Behold, he smote the rock, and the waters gushed out, and the streams overflowed. Can he give bread also? Can he provide flesh for his people? Therefore Yahweh heard this and was wroth. So a fire was kindled against Jacob, and anger also came up against Yasharal.
All right, so you can see how we tempted him in the wilderness. And we do this in our own lives. This is the very same day when we be in the situations that the Most High has us going through in our lives. Partial of it is from our own decisions that we make. But also a lot of that, again, is also for the glory of the Most High. And when we tempt him, can Yah deliver me out this situation? Can Yah restore my family and restore my business, restore my job, restore my money, restore my health? We know he can do that. But the question is, will he do that for us? But in our minds, in our doubt, we like, I don't know if he can do this. And we might not physically say, I don't know if he can do it. But when we doubt, we put that seed of, I don't know if he can do this for me. And we as servants can't be like the Gentiles, because the Gentiles know him by just hearing about it. They don't know him as far as had him and been married unto him and had been adopted by a nation. So we can't operate in the same manner that the Gentiles do, with lack of faith. When they're supposed to learn faith through us, but we're always doubting him in situations, we have to ask, well, are we doubting him because we don't think that he can do it? Or we're doubting that he will do it for us because we know we're not walking right? But if we focus on our walk and put the faith in him, the story's already written. The blessings are already there. We just can't validate that by saying, well, we want this material thing, so I didn't get blessed if I didn't get that material thing.
Mm-hmm. Verse 21, therefore Yahweh heard this and was wroth. So a fire was kindled against Jacob, and anger also came up against Yasharal, because they believed not in Elohim and trusted not in his salvation.
They believed not in Yahweh and trusted not in his salvation. Yah's salvation, Yahshua, his word. Go ahead.
Though he had commanded the clouds from above and opened the doors of heaven.
And when you believe not Yah's salvation, you believe not the word, when you feel that you have to go around and do it a different way other than keep the commandments to receive the blessing that you're trying to give, that's when you don't believe in Yah's salvation.
Verse 24, and had rained down manna upon them to eat, and had given them the corn of heaven. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. He caused an east wind to blow in the heaven, and by his power he brought in the south wind. He rained flesh also upon them as dust, and feathered fowls like the sand of the sea. And he let it fall in their midst of their camp, round about their habitations. So they did eat, and were well filled, and he gave them their own desire. They were not estranged from their lust, but while meat was yet in their mouths, the wrath of Elohim came upon them, and slew the fattest of them, and smote down the chosen men of Yasharal. For all this they sinned still, and believed not for his wondrous works.
Brother,
Go ahead, Elder.
see, that's a pretty heavy statement right there, you know, that when we always, lots of us make our own mistakes when we think we can sway the Most High with our desires and our appetites, and then lay down insults to the Father, because they doubt that the Father can do these things. No, we doubt that the Father can do these things, as my brother was just talking about. And what did Yahweh do? He said He gave them the desires of the heart, but most of them choked on it.
Right.
Because He said, "Oh, you really want this? You think you can't do this, huh? You disrespect what I give you. I give you angel food. That angel food right there can do everything for your body that all this other stuff can't do. In one meal. But all these things I'm doing for you, and you disrespecting me. So He says, since you want these things and you desire them, and so many of you are doing this and saying this and have no belief in me, He made them choke on this meat that they want. And then will they get the point? Yahweh had to show them, I can do this for you. I can give you these things, But since you want it so earnestly, and then you doubt me as an Elohim after what I just did for you out of Mizraim, now He's going to make you choke on it. And our people continually messed up over and over and over because we doubt the Father. And we know it's hard, because us people were brought up a certain way. So we were brought up this way where we can continually practice, the belief of the Scripture as little children. So we won't waver in our thoughts, So I look at those people and say, yeah, okay, they wavered in their thoughts, because they didn't grow up in this manner, but yet you held the Messiah's vision in your eyes. And when the things that He did, it blew your mind of all of the 10 commandments that he done. the 10 different wonders that He done in Egypt, and then freed us, and then gave us heavy substance, So, when have you ever seen this? Ever in your history? But yet, I guess sometimes, even if we see those type of things, we don't take it to heart. Only at the moment. But we need to learn how to truly believe in Yahweh. So we stop making all these foolish mistakes that we're making all the time. And give our Father the glory He deserves. And I think we all seem to make errors in our life that way. So I believe if we learn how to repent and learn His word and learn how to follow Him, we probably do a whole lot better for ourselves, with the Most High than what we have been doing.
Right. And a lot of us are victims of a lack of patience.
Yes.
Where, we're used to, okay, you put this in the microwave, you hit 1 minute, it's warm, comes out. You know what's going to happen. You don't have to wait. You don't have to have faith in it. Nothing. You know what happens. So when something happens in our lives, because the Most High don't move at the pace we want to move, we start to have doubt. And that doubt may not physically come out of our mouth like, yeah, I don't believe you can do this. But then it starts to come out in your actions. Because then you start to say, well, I'm not going to either change the action that I'm doing, which I feel could possibly block this blessing. Or we might operate in a fashion of, well, I'm doing the righteousness, but I don't think that He's going to bless me for doing this righteousness. So I'm going to do this thing, and we justify it in our mind because we say the end justifies the means. But at the end of the day, that's showing a doubt in the Most High. Wesley, can you cut that off, brother, please? That's the doubt that we're showing in our actions when we're saying the Most High is not going to bless us, so I'm going to take things in my own hands. And that's what we saw a lot in the wilderness. Well, oh yeah, we're going to starve. You brought us out here to starve. This, that, and the man, like the elder said, the man just did all these miracles. You think that he can't do these type of things? He created you from the dust of the ground. You think he can't feed you? It's just a huge slap to the face, especially somebody who's never let you down. Imagine your children are 18 years old. Their whole life you fed them, clothed them, everything, and your state has only been the same. You've been wealthy the whole time. You've never lost any money, nothing. And every time they come around you, they doubting you. Because you don't just shelling out money right away. They doubting whether you got money to give. It's like, son, the whole time I've grown up, I've taken care of everything. You know me always to have means to do this. Why are you doubting me? It's just so much disrespect. And a man would feel disrespect from that. How much more an Elohim who's perfect, who has never let us down. And shalom, brother Robert McCall. Good to see you.
Psalms chapter 78 and verse 33. Therefore their days did he consume in vanity, and their years in trouble.
And it seems very similar to what we're dealing with right now. Years in vanity, years of doing things, going to churches which is not helping us, living lives that are not doing anything for us spiritually, and thinking it's okay. Just to find out, many of us to find out, get away from me, you work of iniquity, I never know you. And then in this vanity, it's nothing but trouble. High blood pressure, homosexuality in your family, disease, problems with your job, being oppressed, mental illness, erectile dysfunction, all these different problems just over and over. Go ahead.
Verse 34. When he slew them, then they sought him, and they returned and inquired early after all. And they remembered that Elohim was their rock, and the high all their redeemer.
So what you think anybody would do when I bless you, bless you, bless you, give you all that, and you turn around and you profane, and you do each other worse than your oppressor did you. But soon as I smite you, you come running back, and all of a sudden you're back to the humble child that I raised, that I know, the one that I put my spirit on. What else is he going to do? He has no choice. We limited him because he wants to put the blessings on us, but it just equals us moving further away from him. So fast forward to where we are now. This is why we get the business. This is why we constantly getting beaten down, because that's the only thing we respond to. Maybe if we respond to blessings the right way, then we'll enable him to do something different. But instead, we constantly limit him with this lack of belief.
Verse 36. Nevertheless, they did flatter him with their mouth, and they lied unto him with their tongues. For their heart was not right with him, neither were they steadfast in his covenant. But he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquity, and destroyed them not. Yea, many a time he turned his anger away, and did not stir up all his wrath. For he remembered that they were but flesh, a wind that passes away and comes not again. How often did they provoke him in the wilderness, and grieve him in the desert? Yea, they turned back and tempted all, and limited the Holy One of Yasharal.
All right, so they limited the Holy One of Yasharal when they turned back. It says, he who puts his hand away from the plow is not fit for the kingdom. Remember Lot's wife? You can bring somebody somewhere at the end of the day and give them that grace and mercy that the Most High allowed you to have by them also coming with you. But if they turn back, that's on them. And this is what we did. We limited him by constantly turning back to the old idolatrous ways.
You know what? If you think about how Yah has made his covenant with the men of Yasharal, cut the foreskin off in circumcision. This is an irreversible commitment.
Right.
You understand? It's not
growing back.
And no. And it's it's not like how we deal with relationships where y'all could be like, you know, we go to y'all, thank you for being with me. And y'all all of a sudden he has a change of heart. Be like, nah, I don't feel like you being my disciple today. You be like, what? I just cut the foreskin off my whole body. You can't just turn away from me now. Like, nah, you'll go surf Baal or something. Like, I'm not in this. I don't like you anymore. Like, y'all doesn't deal with us like that. He's like, okay, the men of my nation have taken an irreversible vow. So if you fall, I'll be there to pick you up. If you feel weak, I'll strengthen you. Like, there's a bond there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, y'all's not gonna be like, oh, after you done cut off the foreskin of your flesh, I'm gonna just toss you away. You like, you see here that y'all's gonna go that extra mile with his children. Like, y'all are gonna go astray, and guess what? I'm gonna go with you for your chastisement.
Right.
But there's no divorce in here. There's no, I'll threaten that I'm gonna divorce you, or I'll let you know that I'm putting you away for a little bit. But at the end of the day, y'all's like, we're in a bond here. You know. And once we get out of the rebellious aspect of it, of let me just seek my own way every time, and get into the, no, I'm bound to y'all. Like, me and y'all are in a marriage. We're in a deep covenanted bond. He's written in my DNA, whether I like it or not, whether I know it or not. And instead of it being something that we feel forced into, we should start embracing it and allow the blessings to start working in our favor. Like, this is my nature. You know, me and y'all are in a covenant that no one else understands really. And each of us individually have to work that out. And y'all wants that for us after we've gone through so much, whether it be in flesh, whether it be in spirit, whether it be in relationships with other people that we just had to cut because it wasn't going to help our spiritual growth. After going through all that, Yah is there to help us overcome and accomplish anything that we need done according to his will.
Right. And he keeps his part of the covenant. You know, he sets that example, and he doesn't cast us to the side and keeps us there, but he gave us the free will to stay in that covenant. And this is where it talks about us limiting him when we turn back away from the covenant. But when we return, he's there for the most part. And really, I don't really see too many situations where somebody is returning in righteousness that Yah wasn't going to accept the repentance. But what he will do is when he sees that you off of turning away from him and have no desire, he's not going to send his spirit of repentance into you. He's not going to send his spirit of understanding, and you just going to be cut off. But you did that to yourself. He didn't cut you off. Again, if you show yourself righteous unto him, he's going to show himself righteous. But you show yourself froward, you showed yourself that you want to be a dishonorable vessel, he's not going to force you to be an honorable vessel just because he made covenant with you. His covenant was, I'm going to do all these things for you. And if you do this, I will continue doing these things for you. And even when you don't do, I'm going to continue doing these things for you. But eventually it's going to come to a point where you're going to do this to yourself.
And that just go to show how unfaithful we are. You know, after going through the mutilation of your flesh for your Elohim, you're still going to go and mess up the whole covenant. And
Yonah said it perfect. He said, you know, we forsake the mercy of Elohim with lying vanities. We tell ourselves, you know what, Yah can't do this. I'm gonna go do this myself, and I'm gonna do it this way. And I know it's against the commandments, but it's for the greater good. And we lie to ourselves, and we might achieve what it is that we're trying to achieve temporarily, but we know that's not gonna last. It's not a blessing from above. So we lie to ourselves and we forsake that mercy. And that mercy is that the blessings are right there for us to take. All we have to do is right the wrong that we did when we turned away from him, turn back towards him. And if we still are able to turn back to him, we're in that grace period. We can still do it. Because there ain't no turning back to him once you done left this earth.
Nope. Done deal.
Psalm 78 verse 42. They remembered not his hand, nor the day when he delivered them from the enemy, how he had wrought his signs in Mitzrayim, and his wonders in the field of Zoan, and had turned their rivers into blood, and their floods, and they could not drink. He sent diverse sorts of flies among them, which devoured them, and frogs, which destroyed them. He gave also their increase unto the caterpillar, and their labor unto the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamore trees with frost. He gave up their cattle also to the hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath and indignation and trouble, by sending evil angels among them. He made a way to his anger. He spared not their soul from death, but gave their life over to the pestilence, and smote all the firstborn in Mitzrayim, the chief of their strength, in the tabernacles of Ham, but made his own people to go forth like sheep, and guided them into the wilderness like a flock. And he led them on safely, so that they feared not, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies. And he brought them to the border of the sanctuary, even to his mountain, which is his right hand has purchased. He cast out the heathen also before them, and divided them an inheritance by line, and made the tribes of Yasharal to dwell in their tents. Yet they tempted and provoked the Most High Elohim, and kept not his testimonies. Verse 57. But turned back and dealt unfaithfully like their fathers. They were turned aside like a deceitful bow. For they provoked him to anger with their high places, and moved him to jealousy with their graven images. When Elohim heard this, he was wroth, and greatly abhorred Yasharal, so that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent which he placed among men, and delivered his strength into captivity, and his glory into the enemy's hand. He gave his people over also to the sword, and was wroth with his inheritance. The fire consumed their young men, and their maidens were not given to marriage.
Now, just like what we talked about how the Most High will never forsake you. You forsook yourself at this point. Most High sees the end result of something. Mm-hmm. He knows the end result of a matter. So when he sees a man is not going to change, that's righteous judgment, because y'all know you're not going to change, and I can force my will on you, but I gave you free will. I gave you the choice between life and good and evil and death. So we chose that. So it wasn't like he picked some men that made a mistake and they would possibly have repented. Oh no. He knows man's hearts. We can make that mistake and say, you know what, that man ain't going to repent, or this man is going to repent. We don't know man's heart, but he knows man's heart because he knows what he put in their heart. So this is what happens when, like you say, you walk away from that covenant and you decide in your heart that this is what you want to do. If the Most High sees that there ain't going to be no change in you, you already dead. So at this point, he's going to use you for whatever benefit he needs to get him some glory.
Verse 64. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows made no lamentation. Then Yahweh awakened as one out of sleep, and like a mighty man that shouts by reason of wine, and he smote his enemies in their hinder parts. He put them to a perpetual reproach. Moreover, he refused the tabernacle of Yosef, and chose not the tribe of Ephraim, but chose the tribe of Yehudah, the Mount Zion, which he loved. And he built his sanctuary like high palaces, like the earth which he has established forever. He chose Dawid also his servants, and took him from the sheepfolds. From following the ewes, great with young, he brought him to feed Jacob his people, and Yasharal his inheritance. So he fed them according to the integrity of his heart. He guided them by the skillfulness of his hands.
All right, let's go to Malachi chapter 2. Malachi is the last chapter in the Old Testament, right before Matthew. So there's certain things that we can do that can stop us from receiving blessings. But once you receive the blessing, we received all the blessings from the covenant. But once you have the blessing, you also have to maintain that blessing. And there's actions you can do that can cause your blessings to cease, or even your blessing to turn into a curse. And this is what this word was. This word is a blessing. But when we don't hold to this word true, it becomes a curse unto us. Malachi chapter 2.
Malachi chapter 2 and verse 1. And now, O you priests, This commandment is for you. If you will not hear, and if you will not lay it to heart, to give glory unto my name, says Yahweh of hosts, I will even send a curse upon you, and I will curse your blessings. Yea, I have cursed them already because you do not lay it to heart.
So not only is he going to send a curse, he's also going to curse your blessings because we don't lay it to heart. These are the priests. If these are the people that are supposed to be doing the service of the Most High, the ones that are holy enough to come close to him, the ones that are teaching, the teaching priests that are teaching the rest of the tribes how to live holy and to receive blessings of the Most High, and they're walking against that, why are the people going to keep the commandments? They're like, look, these people receiving all these tithes and living, like celebrities, and they're not keeping the commandments, so why should I? So he's going to have to turn those blessings into curses so they could be an example for everybody else.
Verse 3, behold, I will corrupt your seed and spread dung upon your faces, even the dung of your solemn feast, and woe shall take you away with it. And you shall know that I have sent this commandment unto you, that my covenant might be with Levi, says Yahweh of hosts. My covenant was with him of life and peace, and I gave them to him for the fear wherewith he feared me, and was afraid before my name. The law of truth was in his mouth, and iniquity was not found in his lips. He walked with me in peace and equity, and did turn many away from iniquity.
So the Levite of old time had fear and reverence for the Most High because he saw brothers getting taken out. He saw people, strange fire being lit, and people and ground opening up on people, plagues going through things, people going in the sanctuary and just dying. He saw all those different judgments of the Most High, so they feared him. And they said, as long as we do our job and we keep the commandments, we are right. But then when Yahweh, again, he starts to bless and he starts to let go, and them storehouses get big with all those blessings and everything. Now, all of a sudden, there goes the job. There goes the reverence. It's out the window. We forget and start believing that we deserve those things because we just people.
Verse 7, for the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth, for he is the messenger of Yahweh of hosts. But you are departed out of the way. You have caused many to stumble at the law. You have corrupted the covenant of Levi, says Yahweh of hosts. Therefore have I also made you contemptible and base before all the people, according as you have not kept my ways, but have been partial in the law. Have we all not one Father? Has not one all created us? Why do we deal treacherously every man against his brother by profaning the covenant of our fathers? Yehuda has dealt treacherously, and an abomination is committed in Yasharal and in Jerusalem. For Yehuda has profaned the holiness of Yahweh, which he loved, and has married the daughter of a strange all. Yahweh will cut off the man that does this, the master and the scholar, out of the tabernacles of Jacob, and him that offers an offering unto Yahweh of hosts.
So he's marrying a doctrine that's not even original. Like when you look at what we have done, we're taking on religions that are not even original religions, like Islam. Islam come from another religion. So we're marrying daughters of a strange El, of another doctrine that's not even original. That wasn't even one of the original ones that the angels brought down here. That's been changed and mingled and all that, and we grab a hold of that because it's new. It's something different. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And this have you done again, covering the altar of Yahweh with tears, with weeping and crying out, insomuch that he regards not the offering anymore, or receives it with goodwill at your hand.
It's weeping for Tammuz. Go ahead.
Yet you say, why? Because Yahweh has been witness between you and the wife of your youth, against whom you have dealt treacherously. Yet is she your companion and the wife of your covenant. Mm-hmm. And did not he make one? Yet had he the residue of the Spirit. And why one? That he might seek a righteous seed. Therefore, take heed to your spirit, and let none deal treacherously against the wife of his youth.
The wife of your youth, the doctrine that you were brought up with, the righteousness of this word. What brought us and kept us blessed and kept us on top. Once we on top, I don't need her no more. I'm good. I like this new doctrine over here. It says that, you're going to stick your children in fire and you're going to live forever, or you're going to put blood on your face and you're going to look younger. All this strange stuff. We forsaken the assembly that got us here so that we can get on the newest, grooviest thing, which might have some kind of financial benefit.
Verse 16. For Yahweh, the Elohim of Yasharal, said that he hates putting away. For one covers violence with his garment, says Yahweh of hosts. Therefore take heed to your spirit, that you deal not treacherously. You have wearied Yahweh with your words, yet you say, wherein have we wearied him? When you say, everyone that does evil is good in the sight of Yahweh, and he delights in them. Or, where is the Elohim of judgment?
Right. And also what we did as priests, the physical wives of our youth, the daughters of Yasharal, we casted them to the side. Now we taking these women from all these other lands because we now have a position of power. And the Most High hated that. Let's go to Yohanan chapter 14. John chapter 14. John, Yohanan chapter 14, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in Yahweh, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And where I go, you know, and the way you know. Thomas said unto him, Master, we know not where you go, and how can we know the way? Yeshua said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes unto Father, but by me. If you had known me, you should have known my Father also, and from henceforth you know him and have seen him. Philip said unto him, Master, show us the Father, and it suffices us. Yeshua said unto him, Have I been so long time with you, and yet have you not known me, Philip? He that has seen me has seen the Father. And how say you then, show us the Father? Believe you not that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but the Father that dwells in me, he does the works. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me, or else believe me for the very works' sake. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believes on me, the works that I do, shall he do also. And greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father.
So when somebody tells you they're a believer, you just look and say, do they do the works of Mashiach? Mashiach helped people. He preached the word. He rebuked. He did miracles. He put others before himself. And he didn't judge anybody.
Verse 13. And whatsoever you shall ask in my name, that will I do, that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you shall ask anything in my name, I will do it.
All right. So, and whatsoever you shall ask in my name, that will I do, that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you shall ask anything in my name, I will do it. So if you ask in this word, if you abide in this word, you do the works that the Mashiach did. When you ask, your prayers are going to be answered. Your blessings are going to be abundant. Go ahead.
Verse 15. If you love me, keep my commandments. And I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever. Even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it sees him not, neither knows him. But you know him, for he dwells with you and shall be in you.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that, they say all the time, brothers, if you ask anything in Yeshua's name, he should give it unto you.
Mm-hmm.
But saying back in the day that if you didn't follow the Father's commandments, how can you see anything from the Father? Because it tells you, it tells you right here, it says in John, 1 John, chapter 2, verse 3, and hereby we do know that we know him if we keep his commandments.
Mm-hmm.
And he that said, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. So in John 14, the brother, is reading about, if you love me, keep my commandments. And we know he continually talks about this through John 14 and John 15, and this is what I believe, that Yahweh is trying to tell us through his son. If you really believe me, if you really follow me, you're going to show me by your actions, by keeping my commandments.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he's going to fall on the ground. He knows he's going to make a lot of mistakes. But we're going to get up, see the error of our ways, repent of it, and dust us off and continue along the path. Our brothers and sisters are going to help us get back up if we fall. Because we lean on each other, take care of each other. As Yahweh said, you love your brother. Your brother's supposed to love you. That's part of it. We deal with each other when we mess up to help get us back on the path. So this verse has been bastardized so much in these churches talking about all you got to do is talk, it expound on to the Lord or his son, Jesus, and anything that you ask him in his name, he's going to give it to you. So, but they don't realize, Yeshua is not going to go against his Father for you. And this is a blessing that he's trying to give you if you ask in his name, because you are following the Father. Why would he give you anything going against his Father's will? But you see, that's not expounded in these churches. So I want to bring that point up. I know you probably, both my brothers probably had a lot of stuff to say about that, about why should he bless a disobedient child, a disobedient brother, a disobedient friend, when you're not following, his Father's words, his commandments.
Right. Because, ultimately, his word has gone out. It's not going to change. The results of not keeping his commandments are clear. You see what the results of that are in the end. So how could he really be trying to bless you if he's encouraging you to do the thing that's going to cause you an eternal death? So he can't bless that. But somebody else will offer you blessings for that to cause you to receive death. And the Most High may be merciful and allow you to receive certain blessings that he's not necessarily giving you, but he might allow you to have that. But ultimately, the Mashiach is very clear in saying that you need to abide in me in order to receive these blessings that you're asking for. And we're going to go into James, and he's going to tell you why some blessings we can't receive. Let's stop there. Let's go to John chapter 15, next chapter. John chapter 15, let's start this at verse 1.
We stopped at verse 17. John chapter 14, we stopped at verse 17. Yohanan chapter 15 and verse 1. I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that bears not fruit he takes away, and every branch that bears fruit he purges it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself except it abide in the vine. No more can you except you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abides in me and I in him, the same brings forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered. And men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you.
All right. So now you're getting the rest of the equation. If you abide in me, and to abide, which means abide in this word. If you live in this word, to abide in it means you just say it passing by. You're abiding, you're staying in it. It means you're living it, you're talking it, you're breathing it. And his words abide in you. You shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you.
It is.
So the blessing will come unto you, because if you're in this word, you're not going to see your brother over here starving and you're going to turn around and ask for a Lamborghini. You're going to try to ask, for an ability to try to help your people, or are you going to put something into action and worry about that at a later date? Go ahead.
Verse 8. Herein is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit, so that you be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Continue you in my love. If you keep my commandments, you shall abide in my love, even as I kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love.
So he's specifically telling you how to abide in him. You have to keep his commandments.
These things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends, if you do whatsoever I command you. Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant knows not what his master does, but I have called you friends. For all things that I have heard of my Father I have made known unto you. You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you that you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever you shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you. These things I command you, that you love one another.
All right, so here's another reason that will block your blessing if you don't love one another. The Most High is about nation building. He's not about you individually, you setting up your house real high and real nice. He's like, what are you going to do to benefit the nation? So what way will block your blessing is the Most High bless you with some kind of abundance, and you turn around and try to store it for yourself. Like the man that tried to create a bigger barn so he can fit even more of his fruits into that barn. It said that day your life was required of you. So this is one easy way to block your blessings. If when the Most High bless you with something and you make it all about yourself, it doesn't benefit your nation in some kind of way. Now, that doesn't mean he won't allow you to amass money. He'll allow you to amass money. People do it all the time. But you won't be able to amass true blessings because you won't bless his people. You won't abide in him. You won't keep his words. And his word says, love one another. Love your neighbor like yourself. Which means you can't be sitting, living in a high-rise building that you own, and then the rest of your family is starving in some tents. That ain't going to cut it for the Most High. Let's stop right there. Let's go to Yaakov, James chapter 4. And here you're going to see James touch on why we can't receive certain blessings. And it describes why the children of Yasharah is broke as a whole. We get paid less, we make less, our houses are valued less, everything is less. Because we can't receive these blessings and still walk in righteousness. The Most High is just waiting for somebody or a group of people to walk in righteousness so he can make an example. You see how quick and easy he goes out his way to make an example of when you do wickedness. He makes sure every time we cut on the news, we've seen the example. Even a halfway father would want to show an example of good when he wants you to do something right. But the Most High is just dying to find somebody in some group of people to just show, to set the standard, to be the standard bearer, to walk in righteousness. At least one family, somebody, just to walk in that so that he can show the blessings. Now, what we think is that means we just going to be sitting nice and everything is going to be great. No, that one group of people or whoever is going through that is going to go through the ringer. Because he still has to show that example that just, when they were receiving all the great stuff, they served me. When things went bad, they still turn around and serve me.
James, Jacob, chapter 4 and verse 1. From where come wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence, even of your lusts that war in your members? You lust and have not, you kill and desire to have and cannot attain, you fight and war, Yet you have not, because you ask not. You ask and receive not, because you ask amiss, that you may consume it upon your lusts.
So this is the reason we can't receive stuff, because we want to consume it upon our lusts. And we have not, and we ask and don't receive, and we don't ask for certain things. Certain things we won't even ask for the Most High, because we know we don't deserve it. We know we got no business. We know it's not even going to help us. It's going to cause us to get even more problems. So what do? We go find an illegal way to do it, an unlawful way to do it, a selfish way to do it, so that we can have what we want to have, and then it becomes a curse unto us. Whereas if we would have just walked in righteousness, we wouldn't even have to pray for it. The Most High would have already known in our heart what we wanted, and he would have granted to us. Just like a father, when he sees a kid outside, watching everybody ride their bike, and he just sitting here looking out the window, wishing he had something. And the father looking at a corner seat, look at my son out there sweeping the floor and cutting the grass, watching all the kids ride. I know he wants this bike. Guess what? As soon as I get paid, he gonna get that bike. And even the earthly father would do that. So the Most High will operate the same way. That's his uniform. The uniform of the children of Yasharah is blessing. Everywhere you look is glory and beauty. But he can't give that to us because we keep limiting him by turning his blessings into curses and blocking the blessings that he's trying to give us.
But can we go look at that word, amiss, that they talk about right there? I think it's 2560.
G2560?
Yeah.
Kekos.
What's the definition?
Badly, physically or morally amiss, diseased, evil, grievously miserable, sick, sore.
So we ask in a negative way. Something that is diseased and just deceitful and miserable and just not going to be something that he can receive glory. So to paraphrase that whole thing, by him giving you this, is he going to receive glory? And as long as we can keep our mind frame that we are here to glorify the Most High, and we glorify the Most High, we just read it, by bearing much fruit. If we can keep that mind frame, how can the Most High receive glory out of a situation? We can stay on the side of a blessing. Now, just because we don't receive something right away, don't mean that we're not going to be blessed.
Verse 4. You adulterers and adulteresses, know you not that friendship of the world is enmity with Elohim? Whosoever, therefore, will be a friend of the world is an enemy of Elohim.
And what did Yahshua say that makes you his friend?
Do whatever commanded.
Do what he say.
That's right.
And he said, do as I do. I'm not only telling you to do what I say, but do as I do. So you make yourself a friend of the world when you do what the world says to do. The world says December 25th is Christmas. Go put up a Christmas tree. You do what they tell you to do. You make yourself a friend of the world when you do as they do. Just like you're a friend of the Mashiach when you do as he did and you do at what he tells you to do. Well, it's the same thing with being a friend of the world. Do what they do and do what they tell you to do. And that's what we do because everybody doing it.
Verse 5. Do you think that the scripture says in vain, the spirit that dwells in us lusts to envy? But he gives more grace. Wherefore he says, Elohim resists the proud, but gives grace unto the humble. Submit yourselves therefore to Elohim. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to Elohim, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Be afflicted, and mourn, and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to heaviness.
So have faith. These afflictions are going to come. Remain righteous. Keep your eye on the prize. Draw nearer to Elohim when you're receiving and also when you're in trouble. Don't just draw near to him when you're in trouble, when you're crying, but also when good things happen. And when you do things like that, when you're afflicted and mourn, your laughter is going to be turned into joy. Go ahead.
Verse 10. Humble yourselves in the sight of Yahweh, and he shall lift you up. Speak not evil one of another, brethren. He that speaks evil of his brother and judges his brother speaks evil of the law and judges the law. But if you judge the law, you are not a doer of the law, but a judge.
And verse 11 is one thing we have a huge problem with. Not speaking evil of one another. And a lot of times we speak evil of one another because we want to avoid looking at the own things that we have going on in our own heart. Now, when you're speaking in trying to find a solution for somebody, you're trying to help somebody, that's a whole different manner of spirit. But we can be honest with ourselves. We know when we just talking about somebody because we don't like what they did or it rubs us the wrong way. But when we do that, we speaking evil of the law.
Verse 8 to 10 about so wrong. You don't know if that grace will be extended to you. And once that grace is completed, that the blessing will be birthed in your life. And he's like, all right, now I can give this to you, because it's not somebody that loves the wickedness that the world keeps giving. And this is someone that mourned when they realized that their image was contrary to the image of Yah that he was trying to put on us.
It's that double-mindedness. It's the double-mindedness where the servant is aware of right and wrong, but when it's not benefiting them, they're going to switch to the other mind. That's going to just say, no, this mind is going to listen to the flesh. Well, this mind is going to listen to the spirit. And just like Saul, there's certain things that he had that he couldn't remove. And the Mashiach said, that's all right. The fact that you acknowledge that there's a thorn there, that is bothering you, and you're asking to have this removed, I'm going to take care of that. My strength is going to be sufficient for you. But where we fall short is when we refuse to acknowledge that we're falling short in something. And a lot of it sometimes happens with servants that they want to be successful. They want to be righteous. They want to be a certain way. So the only way they can be that way is when they have something that they can't fix, they just ignore and act like it doesn't exist, so that they can feel the way that they're trying to be. And it's not that the person is trying to be wicked.
And not humbling themselves.
Right. They want to be, they're thinking more highly of themselves. And you see that a lot with new people. They think highly of themselves because they made such a change from where they used to be that they think that they're there. They think that they're there because from what they can see, they have changed. But not understanding that the Most High is just giving you things in layers. There's so much more that he needs to purge, because he says once you bear fruit, he's got to purge you so you can bear more fruit. And that's a painful process. And we have to always remember that, no, you're not there. We just trying to get to the point where we're unprofitable servants, where we just meeting par. We just doing what we're supposed to do. And in this society, it's difficult to get to that next level because we have been the mind screw and the information and the twisting of scriptures and the lack of things that have been given to us makes it so hard for us to get to that level. And that is what can keep you humble. If you can acknowledge that now I'm not there, so I can't be talking about this person or that person because I'm not there. There's things I need to do. If I need to talk about this or that person, I need to go to that person and talk to him directly. That way, I'm also on Front Street, that if there's something that I'm doing, it's going to come up.
Jacob chapter 4, verse 13. Go to now, you that say today or tomorrow we will go to such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain. Whereas you know not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appears for a little time and then vanishes away. For that you ought to say, if Yahweh will, we shall live and do this or that. But now you rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicing is evil.
And this is a key way to block your blessings. And even before we were in the word, we understood that when you start talking about stuff before it happens, like, oh man, I just got this and I'm about to do this, I'm about to do that. And it's in the process. It's probably going to happen. But you start running your mouth, boasting, telling people, oh man, I'm about to get that big body, right? Yeah, I got approved and they just waiting on this one thing and it's mine. And you just boasting and boasting instead of saying, if it's Yah's will, I'm going to have this. Or if it's Yah's will, I'm going to be here. Or I'm going to work here. I'm going to do that. Or even just waiting until the Most High has done it for you. And then you can turn and give the blessings and the glory to the Most High. Praise Yah. This done happened to me. But so many times it'll happen. And friends of mine, we used to be like, man, don't say you're gonna jinx yourself. Don't say nothing. But ultimately it comes down to right here where you taking away the glory of the Most High because you making it look like you done did it.
Verse 17. Therefore, to him that knows to do good and does it not, to him it is sin.
All right. Let's go to Matthew chapter 15. Matthew chapter 15. And even though this word was sent to us, for us, and by us, the same word can benefit people of other nations as well. If they believe, if they have faith and they do the actions, they can receive the blessings as well. And here we're going to see a situation with the Canaanite woman, who approached the word and she believed and she had faith and she received her blessing. But she could have been prideful and would have easily had her blessing blocked. Matthew chapter 15, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
Then came to Yeshua scribes and Pharisees which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, Why do you also transgress the commandment of Elohim by your tradition? For Elohim commanded, saying, Honor your father and mother, and he that curses father or mother, let him die the death. But you say, Whosoever shall say to his father or mother, It is a gift, by whatsoever you might be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus you have made the commandment of Elohim of none effect by your tradition. You hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, This people draw near unto me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me.
And we just read about that same thing in the wilderness. They flattered him with their tongues, but at the end of the day, they took off and started worshiping their other gods.
Verse 10. And
9.
Verse 9. But in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandment of men. And he called the multitude and said unto them, Hear and understand. Not that which goes into the mouth defiles a man, but that which comes out of the mouth, this defiles a man.
Now, at any point in here, did he mention anything about pork or shrimp or unclean food at all?
No.
This is why you have to read what this is talking about. Either you're trying to reform and twist your life to be in line with the scriptures, or you can search these scriptures for things to justify you being the way that you are. And that's two different mind frames.
Verse 12. Then came his disciples and said unto him, Know you that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? But he answered and said, Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be rooted up. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch.
So they approached and said, Hey man, Yeshua, you know what? You know that these people didn't like what you just said. You told them the truth, but they didn't like it. You didn't sugarcoat it enough for them or whatever. Hey, look here. Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be rooted up. So at the end of the day, you're not finna push somebody off. If the Most High planted them there, ain't nothing you can do. Now, what you will do is suffer some loss and some recompense if you don't treat people. You cause a little one to offend a little one, to stumble, because you didn't come at them with love. But also, you can't be afraid to tell somebody the truth because you're afraid it's going to offend them. You're afraid that they're not going to like what you have to say. Because you think, oh, they're not going to like the fact that, it says 2/3 of Israel going to get cut off. Oh, that's going to scare them. Don't say nothing. They're going to run off. Well, then the Most High didn't plant them there then.
Verse 15. Then answered Kepha, Peter, and said unto him, Declare unto us this parable. And Yeshua said, Are you also yet without understanding? Do not you yet understand that whatsoever enters in at the mouth goes into the belly and is cast out into the draught? But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. For out of the heart proceeds evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man. But to eat with unwashen hands defiles not a man.
It has absolutely nothing to do with that, and people know that, but you have people that want to take the scripture to justify what they're doing, like a lawyer, or you have somebody that wants to actually find righteousness, find what's truly right, like a judge is supposed to do. That's why it says, judge yourself so you be not judged. A lawyer, you pay him either way. He'll go and look at the same things and find your innocence in here. You pay him, he's on your side.
You know, the one that goes along with that way, blessing supplications. You know, you pray over it, and blessings over, pray blessings over and supplications, they're supposed to make it clean. That's another one that they blaspheme, or let's say lie about, that this is about eating pork, anything that you eat. So that's why I bring that up, because we just got you reading that one. Mm-hmm. They lie over that one too, bro, in these churches.
Can you offer a pig to the Most High?
No.
Or shrimp?
No.
Or clams?
No.
You can't. It's defiled. The best thing you can offer the Most High is yourself. And now you offering yourself a defiled vessel with food, or not even with food. You hate your brother. That's why I said, man, before you even bring up your gift, go reconcile with your brother. Go talk to him, man.
Verse 21. Then Yeshua went there and departed into the coast of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O master, you son of David, my daughter is grievously vexed with a demon. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she cries after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Yasharal. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Master, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. And she said, Truth, master, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from the master's table. Then Yeshua answered and said unto her, O woman, great is your faith. Be it unto you even as you will. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour.
So she received her blessings, but again, Yeshua, that seems kind of harsh. It's not meet to take children's bread and cast it to the dogs. He's making a point here. He's saying something and using parable once again to test this woman's faith. Are you going to respect the order of the Most High? You see the condition of my people here. My people over here starving. My people over here being occupied in their own land. And you want me to take away my attention to help you? But she said, true. But guess what? After the children eat, basically, the dog's going to eat too, because they're going to eat whatever's left over. And I'm willing to take whatever is left over. I understand that you here for the children. And according to her faith, she was healed. So the same can be with any other person of another nation. If they accept the order of the Most High, have faith, and approach this word, they can receive the blessing as well. And she wasn't even approaching for her. She was approaching it for her own daughter. So she took somebody talking down to her and making her feel like she was less than anything, just so her daughter could be healed. And she knew who he was. She called him son of David on top of that. So this is a woman of faith too. How you know this? Why she call him son of Yosef? Yeah. That's what Jewish people call him.
Verse 29. And Yeshua departed from there and came near unto the Sea of Galilee, and went up into a mountain and sat down there. And great multitudes came unto him, having with them those that were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Yeshua's feet, and he healed them. Insomuch that the multitude wondered when they saw the dumb to speak, the maimed to behold, the lame to walk, and the blind to see. And they glorified the Elohim of Yasharal.
And they glorified Yahweh. They understood that concept. They didn't glorify, praise Jesus or anything like that. Praise Yah, hallelujah. They didn't know hallelujah, Yeshua.
Praise Yah.
Verse 32. Then Yeshua called his disciples unto him and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat. And I will not send them away fasting, lest they faint in the way. And his disciples say unto him, Where should we have so much bread in the wilderness as to fill so great a multitude? And Yeshua said unto them, How many loaves have you? And they said, 7, and a few little fishes. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves and the fishes, and gave thanks, and brake them, and gave to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did eat, and were filled. And they took up of the broken meat that was left 7 baskets full. And they did eat, and they that did eat were 4,000 men, besides women and children. And he sent away the multitude, and took ship, and came into the coast of Magdala.
All right, so you see here Yeshua feeding flesh unto the people. He's giving them fish. All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 25 for the conclusion. Matthew chapter 25, and we're just going to read verses 31 through 46. Wow, we hear from a brother, Larry Anderson, reached out to us earlier saying that he was having difficulties getting on Facebook Live. And for whatever reason, it blocked him. We know it's streaming because we can see the streams and we can see comments. So if anybody is having issues getting on Facebook Live, send us a message. If we can't get you on YouTube, we'll try to get you a copy of the class or get you on the phone or something so that you can access this stuff, because ever since the Janus 2018, we've been having all kind of issues with the internet. So sorry that you're not able to get on there. This is why we try to stream on so many different platforms, just in case something like this happens. And we've seen how things are starting to get more difficult for us to get this stuff out there. And this is why it's so important for us to take advantage of the time that we have of getting on these classes, getting on these Bible studies, studying on your own, getting with other individuals, discussing this word, because we know, according to prophecies, times are going to come where this stuff is not going to be accessible, where they're going to cut this stuff off and try to cut off the children of Yasharal. So Matthew chapter 25, we're reading verses 31 through 46 for the conclusion.
When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on his left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. All
right, so what some doctrines try to push is that the separation is going to be Israel on the right and the rest of the nations on the left, because it says the sheep and the goats or whatever. But then you also said here, come to me, you blessed of my Father. And he said point blank, how you be blessed of the Father? You got to keep these commandments. You got to bear much fruit. You got to abide in him. And that's not a nation that does that, because we know we don't do it as a nation, or else we'd be on top. Go ahead.
Verse 35. For I was hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Master, when saw we you hungered and fed you, or thirsty and gave you drink? When saw we you a stranger and took you in, or naked and clothed you? Or when saw we you sick or in prison and came unto you?
And notice, this is his validation, is this righteousness that the man is doing, or the woman. the deeds that they're doing, the fruit that they're bearing. It doesn't say nothing here about, oh, when did I see you, walking with your fringes or whatever? Or when did I see you, with melanin? When did I see you, with your whole Israel family? It's talking about deeds, works that somebody is doing here. Go ahead.
Verse 40. And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, insomuch as you have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, you have done it unto me.
When you do it to the least is the one that ain't nobody seeing. He always somewhere in a graveyard, chained up, or poor, sleeping in a corner of an area that nobody can see. You doing it to the least where ain't nobody gonna see you. Ain't no Facebook posts about you doing this. Ain't no you on the news because you donated $10,000 to such and such fund. No, when you seen somebody that needed and you knew that they were the least person to be able to pay you back, you did the right thing because that was your brother, regardless of what nation he was.
Verse 41. Then shall he say unto them on his left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungered, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in. Naked, and you clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and you visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Master, when saw we you hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto you? Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you did it not to one of the least of these, you did it not to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal.
All right, praise Yah. So you see here clearly he's talking about deeds and actions of what's going to determine you being on the left of the goats or on the right with the sheep is how you lived your life. Did you keep these commandments? First of all, that's the base. Keeping the commandments is the base level. But what did you do above and beyond to develop to develop fruit and to bear fruit so the Most High can be gloried? And he's gloried when even his least of his servant is being taken care of, because then he's giving glory to the Most High. I thought you forgot about me. Nah, we ain't forget about you. And we want to make sure when we do those deeds for people in the street, don't just give them some money. Let them know where they get that from. A servant of the Most High Yah gave this to you, because Yah made sure one of his servants was here to see you and be able to do something for you when you needed him. And when you pray, give that glory and give that honor and praise to the Most High by his name, Yah. So this is what we want to do. We want to be in that position. So again, these are the ways that we can block our blessings, and these are the ways that we can increase our blessings. The Most High wants us to be blessed. We're his children. But we have free will to choose good in life or evil in death. So let us choose life and glorify the Most High. So that's all we're going to do today. Any last questions or comments before we close in prayer? All right. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Brother Yancey, can you go ahead and close us out in prayer?
Heavenly Father, I will give you all the glory, thanks, honor, and praise for all your mighty works in our lives, O Yah. From the smallest of things to the greatest of things, O Yahweh. Let us continue to remember the blessings that you pour forth upon us, Yahweh. Even in the hard times, let us understand that these are times of reformation. Blessings as well, Yahweh, for it is your own children that you chastise. And if you did chastise us not, we're bastards and not yours, O Yah. So Yahweh, we're thankful for the chastisement, we're thankful for the upliftment, and we're thankful for all the blessings that you bestow upon us, O Yah, in your mercy. And we pray, Yahweh, that you continue to open our understandings to walk in the way that you have set before us and to grow and manifest your will in our vicinities, Yahweh. We thank you, we bless you, and in Yahshua we pray. Amen.
Amen.